You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling.
Hello everybody, welcome to Phoenix 92.5 FM. This is the Wrestling Rewind. My name is Darrow O'Connor, and welcome to the show. Now, if you're listening to this on the feed, you're like, wait, you posted 7 shows before this, what happened? Because I forgot to do all the shows. So, it's been a while. I sat here for 8 hours doing all the shows, and now they're all up. So if this is your first time checking us out on the radio, please go over to thewrestlingrewind.com, and you can find a link to all the shows, the Patreon, which is no longer a joke. We finally have that set up because we make reference to it in all the past shows. It was a joke, and now it's not. So it is there. We also have our email, our Facebook, our Twitter, all that stuff. You can go over to thewrestlingrewind.com and check out all the shows for free. Or you can, help keep the lights on. But of course, as I said, my name is Darrow O'Connor, and I'm joined by the one, the only, the undefeated 1-0 Mr. Martin Herty. Martin, welcome to the show. It feels like I said this before we went on the air. It feels like I hung out with you all day.
And he's sick of me.
I'm sick of you. No.
I didn't know he was doing this, so Dara feels like he's hung out with me all day. I said 2 words to the fella, and he just went, "Oh, you again."
Yeah. No, I sat down and I was like, man, if I don't do this, this won't get done. I didn't realize that there was that big of a gap between the shows, because obviously, between being away, Christmas, gigs, all that kind of stuff, it kind of gets in and you just kind of have to sit there and do it. So I appreciate everyone for listening to the show, for keep going. Sorry, James, and also thanks to Phoenix for not, kicking us off the air for not doing this for weeks. But there are rakes of shows, everything from our charity stream, which again, that's for a great cause. Wrestling Society X, the Brawl for All, the retrospective went up. Elimination Chamber match retrospective from 2012. Tons of content, all for free. You can literally sit there all day and listen to us talk about nonsense. So it's all there on the feed now on Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff as well. And there is the Patreon as well, which, if there's desire for it, we'll do a Heat show, because this week when watching Raw, I was like, no, we have to watch Heat, because it is one of the things where it's like it's super important. So today we are going to cover 3 things. We're going to cover Elimination Chamber from last week, from 2023.
2023, Dara.
And then
Dara's watched so much wrestling today, he doesn't know what year it is.
Yeah, that's it, Martin. You called me out on it. I've watched 8 hours of wrestling, and most of it has been from 1999. So it's a bit of a jump, going from jumping back, and then we're going right back to talk about Heat and then Raw, which is, I think we're 3 weeks away from WrestleMania in our timeline, and then I think it's 3 weeks away from WrestleMania in the real world. So, I don't know how Doctor Who does it in reality, where it's like, how do we keep this? Where are we? That's kind of what I feel like. We're just, jumping in and out of timelines. But
we're 3 weeks away from WrestleMania, but we're 1 week away from the real biggest show of the year, AEW Revolution.
I mean, I'm enjoying the CM Punk memes, because apparently he's coming back.
I don't think not. I can see him coming back in the future, even in the near future, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be on pay-per-view, unless maybe they just do that to get everyone to tune into Dynamite the next week. It's hard to know, because the wrestling business, the business model has completely turned.
Yeah.
The TV used to be free to get you to buy the pay-per-view.
And now it's the other way around.
It's the other way around. The pay-per-views are to make you go, oh my God, I need to tune into Raw on Monday, or Yeah, because it's all TV rights deals.
It's funny. WCW got that bit right.
Yeah,
They used to book backwards. There was a couple of years too early.
yeah. Accidentally, they got it right. I'd say.
But yeah, we'll cover that obviously when it's on. I think what we did last week, instead of doing a pre-show, it makes way more sense to cover it after the fact.
Yeah.
So that's the way we're going to do for all these shows, unless we're doing like a watch along or some kind of call-in show, or basically, guys, the format of this show really does depend on your engagement. So go over to the wrestlingrewind.com, and there's ways to contact us. All this kind of, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you want. We'll do that. Otherwise, we're just going to sit in our time machine and watch wrestling from 20 years ago, and I'm happy with that. So
tell us what you want, what you really, really want.
Exactly.
There's
I like
a 20-year-old reference to go along with that.
I appreciate that. It wasn't lost on me, Martin. It really wasn't. But I will say, guys, the Brawl for All, if you haven't listened to that show yet, it's episode 120. Do, because it really kind of ties into this period that we're in, where it's this weird, like, Dr. Death Steve Williams thing, and then it jumps to WrestleMania, and then it jumps back, and it's great. And it's with James Drew Penny as well. So do check that out as well. But I'm going to stop plugging for the time being. I'll come back and plug again. But let's go to, before we jump back, we're going to go to Elimination Chamber from just last week. Now, I didn't watch this live. I actually was doing a gig. So I got home, was like, oh, that's on. Fell asleep. And that kind of happened. It is cool. That's on a Saturday. I'll be honest with you. If I wasn't so tired, or if I didn't have plans the morning after, I would have stayed up. But much better. It's on a Saturday.
I love it so much. And AEW started out doing that, and then they still do the occasional one of a Saturday, but it's mostly Sundays now, and it's such a drain on you when you're trying to get ready for work Monday. Or
no, I mean, look, for years, we've done our time watching wrestling this way. This is like, I remember I was talking to CJ from the band, and he's like, it's weird staying up late. And I'm like, no, it's not.
This is our life.
This is what I've done since I was 8 years old. This is totally fine. And I mean, that's always been there for me.
You're used to it. You're like, what do you call them in Shawshank Redemption? It's like, I'm an institutional man now.
What, Red?
I'm used to the night.
No, I mean, that was funny. Like when people like, now, working for an American company or something like that, they're all like, how are you so used to staying up late? I'm like, yeah, you just adopted the darkness. I was born into it. Molded by it.
I'm an international wrestling fan, so
I mean, and I always feel sorry for the walk culture lads and all the English wrestling journals who are like,
oh god,
when something breaks, it's like 7 a.m. and they're still working. It's like, yeah, lads, I wouldn't do that now.
And then they don't even get a break from it. Like,
no,
have
they're
to
right
sit
back
up
in.
to watch. Say, like, so they were actually. I was listening to one of them during the weekend. They were talking about how they're dreading next week because they'll have SmackDown on Friday. They'll have the pay-per-view on Saturday. Then they'll have the AEW pay-per-view on Sunday. Then Raw on Monday, NXT on Tuesday, Dynamite on Wednesday.
Oh man, no thanks. No
6 days in a row.
I mean, the thing about it is, it's like, yeah, are we late to the party in a lot of ways? Yeah, but you know what? We're fashionably late, and also we get to pick and choose. It's not like we had to sit there and watch. Now, to be fair, I did watch 6 hours of wrestling in a row, but that was by choice, and it actually was all really decent. It wasn't nightmarish, sitting there in a ball crying after, which you just don't know. So nothing on the Elimination Chamber did that to me. Thank God I didn't have to see Cody Rhodes. It's wonderful. I didn't have to see John Cena.
What
Wonderful.
What do you think? I was thinking earlier with Cody, by the way. Sami Zayn is so insanely hot.
Yeah. Like it's actually crazy how
it's nuts.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
We'll talk about the Elimination Chamber main event in a minute or so.
Yeah.
But he is so insanely hot. But they are sticking rigidly with the Cody thing. I think Cody had WrestleMania main event, and I win the world title in his contract.
You know what? What they should do, I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but if I was in their position, yeah, it probably is in his contract, and they should deliver on it. However, he didn't say it's to win both belts. So what they should
Yeah.
do is they should have some way to get one of those belts off Roman. Even start off the show with Roman versus Sammy, or someone attacks him or something. I'm not going to fancy book, but this, what I would do would be something like that. They attack him at the start of the show. He gets injured. They get the first belt off him in some way. Sammy wins, or else they open up with Cody. Cody versus Reigns.
Cody could say, I want the belt my father was supposed to win.
Yeah.
You know, he
Exactly.
could pull.
They can lean into it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they like I will say this now, and we'll obviously get more into it when we're talking about it, but if they don't put a belt on Sammy, I think this is going to end really badly for them, because they really, really want Sammy to win something. So I mean, even if you have to make a new belt for him, give him that. But they have two belts here; they can split them up. Roman can, they can have a war with Roman versus Cody, an absolute war where Cody wins, or a war with Sammy, and then he manages to win. Kevin Owens comes out and puts him through 26 tables. They can figure it out, and in that way, everyone goes home happy, and you don't have the end of Raw Rumble 2015 again, which is exactly what will happen. So,
and the thing is, when someone is as red hot as Sammy is now, there's a window when you really need to strike. Like AEW had obviously wasn't as hot as Sammy is, but AEW had like real groundswell of crowd support behind Wardlow. People were really rooting for Wardlow, absolutely loved them, and they waited and waited and waited. And they kind of missed the boat a little bit, because when they did put the TNT title on him, they'd missed the peak of it, so it didn't garner the kind of response they were hoping for.
Yeah.
So even if Cody does have, a title win written into his contract, which I suspect he does, because going off this crowd and this show, Sami Zayn is absolutely, to use Cody's term, undeniable.
No, he is, and I think the crowd have been wanting this for a very long time, and it's the Daniel Bryan thing all over again, where the crowd tells you what they want, and not in like a smarky way, as in like, here you go. But listen, if they don't put over Sami in some way and give him a belt, they're losing the chance to make two massive stars in the one night, two massive faces in the one night.
Yeah. Like, I've heard talk that what the plans are for Sammy and what do you call him? The Canadian guy,
Kevin Owens.
Kevin,
the Canadian guy.
there.
Yeah, that guy.
The one Canadian guy in wrestling. No, so I've heard that the plans are for Sammy and Kevin Owens to have run with the tag belts, but tag belts in WWE aren't.
No, that won't do it. I mean, here's the thing: if they don't do it, they are shooting themselves in the foot, and not in like a small way. I mean, like, they are literally going to have their WrestleMania round, and it this will stand to Cody if he really is in it for the right reasons, other than himself. He should be like, look, we need to give him this. And they have to. It's not like they have to sacrifice their WrestleMania main event. They don't have to do what they did with Kevin Owens, where Orton was supposed to win, or Batista was supposed to win, and he ended up giving it to Bryan. They do not have to do that. They have two belts. They probably have two nights. Are they doing it over the two nights again?
Yes, they are. They're doing it over the two nights again. Now, I'd imagine one of those nights would have to be the women's title.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying.
But I mean, why would it? Like,
but this is what I'm saying, right? You can have an absolute war the first night, where maybe Sammy wins the tag belt or something, and then something happens. Again, there's people who get paid a lot of money to come up with this. Something happens to get Sammy in there in a world title match or a WWE title match. Roman Reigns is incapacitated or something like that, and he gets the win.
but sure,
and
there's
then-
the whole thing with like the Usos kind of being pulled in two different directions, where you could easily work like an interference or something
Yeah.
like that into.
I would get the Cody thing out of the way really quickly. I would be like, I
well,
would
the
start
thing-
off with that, and then
The thing with it is that if he does come out and they don't indicate that they have something for Sammy, Cody's going to get drowned out in Sammy chance.
Oh, that's a good point too. See, that's what I mean. They're kind of, well, then they have to just go with Sammy early on, like very open up the show with it, because there needs to be something, there needs to be some indication that he is going to, they're going to get what they want. So I mean, I would have him win the belt immediately. Not when the show opens straight away, but have some kind of attitude or angle, like we saw here. I mean, we're going to start looking at, Mankind forces his way into being the referee, and he was told no, but the crowd really want him to be the referee, and he ends up being the referee. They've done this before.
We've heard there's been loads of stories this week about Vince kind of pushing his way back into creative, like bit by bit. He's putting his ideas forward and telling people to do this, that, and the other, and they're suspecting that he's kind of edged himself back into creative. And here's how we'll know if Vince is back in creative: if at WrestleMania Sami Zayn is doing a rematch with Johnny Knoxville, then we'll know Vince is back.
But no, I mean, like, the thing about it is, again, and we will move on from this, but if for some reason they don't do the Sami Zayn thing, and I mean, Cody does not need two belts. They don't need two belts. There's no reason for it. It's run its course. But we're walking out of WrestleMania with one guy still holding two belts. They've missed a massive opportunity. One for a brand split, which is coming anyway, and then also, to build two top baby faces. So
there's no reason for Reigns to hold on to one, because
no.
I imagine after this, he's going to go away for a while.
Yeah, I think this is their opportunity to completely rebuild, walk out with two massive babyface stars in the one night, give everyone something what they want. I mean, I like neither one of these guys. I'll be honest with you. I don't like Sammy. I don't like Cody.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I know your Cody stuff, but what's your issue with Sammy?
He's just a jobber, but people like him. It's the same with Daniel Bryan. He's a B+ player. I'm like,
are you not a Daniel Bryan fan?
No, I never saw it. But I do understand. I know, right?
This is how good I think Daniel Bryan is. He the main event at Revolution this year is him versus MJF in an Iron Man match, and I cannot wait. And an Iron Man match is a tough thing to do.
Oh no.
Because even Brett and Sean's Iron Man match, when you go back and watch it now, it's not quite as good as you remember.
Yeah, because it's a tough match to do.
Oh yeah, it's
like
insane
in general. Like, even just from a cardio perspective,
but
an hour it's tough.
But Bryan Danielson and Hangman Page went an hour, and it flew. It absolutely, I couldn't believe how quickly it went.
I mean, I just, I'm not saying that he's bad, because he's not bad. Sammy isn't bad either. They're both incredible wrestlers. They're just not my tempo. They're just not what I like to see in wrestling. But obviously, same with Kofi Kingston. I never saw him as a world champion, but a lot of people did, and a lot of people were right.
You like the beef.
No, I just want Triple H to always be the champion. I mean, always. And particularly when you're going back watching '99, like The Rock, Austin, Taker. These are stars, and for me, when I go back and watch it, I do set them at a very high barrier. But the crowd is connecting with them, and obviously, I'm in the minority, right? So, very much in the same way, Kofi, Bryan, you have to listen to the crowd, or else what's going to happen is they're going to be devastated, and they're going to reject everything that comes from it. And I think Sammy has put enough work in now with the crowd, particularly with this match, which was a fantastic match. It genuinely was.
Here's the thing. As a match, it actually wasn't even that good. Well, it wasn't bad by any means, but as a match, it was very basic. It's
But
the fact that
the storytelling behind it.
The story was great, and the crowd was so unbelievably hot. Like, and to be fair to them, why would they pull out some big dangerous move when the crowd was losing their mind over punches and headlocks? And
I mean,
you know what,
dude?
This whole thing,
sorry, go on.
This whole match reminded me, and not even into it, right from the start, this whole match reminded me of Hogan Warrior at WrestleMania 6.
Yeah, that's good. That's a very good comparison.
That was a very basic, very straightforward, simple match, but the crowd was so hot for it that every single thing they did got a massive reaction. And it's weird watching it. Like it almost, and this is why I brought up thing about Cody earlier. It almost felt a little wasted to be on Elimination Chamber.
It was funny, right? That's a very good point. Before I had watched it, people were like, "This is the greatest Elimination Chamber show ever," and I'm like, "Oh, weird. That's high praise," because obviously the Bray Wyatt, the Wyatt family Shield match from a couple of years ago now, held that standard for 4 years.
Yeah,
but I mean, they weren't wrong. From bell to bell, I enjoyed this entire show. Even Edge and Beth Phoenix, who are very ill now at this point. And I'm like, whoa, Beth, what are you doing? It's almost like watching the Fabulous Moolah come out now, And I'm just like, I just don't want to see this at all, Not to just bring it to her looks, but I mean, in the ring, she just is hobbling along, and then Edge is also hobbling along, and you're like,
yeah, Edge
this is real bad. Finn looked cool. Finn's outfit coming out looked amazing though. That mask was sick. They're talking about bringing back the demon character. I don't know why they let that thing go. I mean, that's that man's entire appeal.
It's one of the many things that they made a hames out of, to the point where the demon character for years and years across multiple promotions was built as being unbeatable, unstoppable. Yeah. And then WWE get a hold of it and they have him flop around on the ground like a fish, and then they have him get pinned after not even jumping off the top rope or being slammed off the top rope, tripping, or the rope snapped and he just kind of
I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that was terrible. That was pretty bad. But there's a lot of a good WWE. There really is. I think this show sets them up really nicely going into WrestleMania. The Bobby Lashley Brock Lesnar thing was that was terrible. Oh, that was real bad. But the women's match, brilliant. Fair play to Asuka.
Oh, fantastic to see.
I'm really glad she won.
Yeah, back right where she belongs. She's the absolute standard bearer for that division, even more so than the likes of Becky and Bianca, who might be bigger stars. Asuka's the kind of stalwart, you can always count on her.
I'll 100% agree with you on that. I mean, I love Becky. Bianca can put out a great performance as well, but Asuka's she is I don't want to say the Shawn Michaels of the division, but when she's wrestling, you're in for something, and you really are in for and something like anything else. She's a star, if that makes sense. But the star, but the worker as well behind it. It's great. Yeah, I have, and then look, the Elimination Chamber match with the men for the US title. I did like it was for the US title. I thought that added a nice little, something extra to it. I know, again, let's come in a second, Martin. But every one of these men have more stock now coming out of this. They're all stars, legit stars. And the biggest one I think is Johnny Gargano. He was kind of a joke And the whole time again, like, the last time I watched Johnny Gargano wrestle was with Finn Balor. And Finn Balor's line, you'll be Johnny watches wrestling, not Johnny wrestling. And that just makes me laugh every time I think about it because it's a really good line. But after watching this match, I'm like, damn, every one of these guys, unbelievable. Every one of them just made from it. So
Well, here's the thing with but a guy like Johnny Gargano, he, for so long they were putting him into these daft storylines and making him do this stupid character stuff. Johnny Gargano is one of those guys, if you want him to get over, you put him in a match and you tell him, you just let him wrestle. That's it. You tell him, go out there, here's your time limit, have the best damn match you can have, and he'll put on something amazing.
And this was put together by Jamie Noble and Abyss. They were the agents.
So what you're really saying is that this was a TNA match? This was a
TNA match. This really was. This was a good TNA match. And I mean, when I was watching it, because I knew about that going into it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I'm amazed AJ Styles wasn't out there, legitimately. And they put together a really, really solid match. It's one of the most consistent, well, back to back, because this was just before the main event. That's one of the most consistent hours of WWE I've seen in years. Decades, actually. It's brilliant. So do yourself a favor, if you guys haven't seen Elimination Chamber yet, please do watch it. It's totally worth your time. And you know us, we would be like, no, don't.
If it was crap, we'd say so. I definitely say so.
Yeah, Martin definitely would say so.
The only thing I would say about it was Logan Paul shows up again.
He does. Yeah.
He does this version of the buckshot lariat that I just can't get behind. He's all about the flip. He's not about the force. But what annoyed me was that it was so he's clearly setting up for a WrestleMania showdown with Seth Rollins.
Yes.
And I can see what's going to happen. Seth Rollins, who and I don't like him personally, but is an excellent wrestler. Seth Rollins is going to carry Logan Paul to another good match, and Logan Paul is going to do his athletic set pieces, and then everyone is going to spend the next 6 months talking about how great Logan Paul is and how he's the best wrestler, and I'm going to be sitting there tearing out what's left of my hair going, he has been carried by everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, it is.
That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, let's switch gears here. Jump into the time machine. We were going to start with Raw, but after watching Raw, I was like, no, we got to watch Heat. Heat at this time, for some reason, is like the most important show in loads of different ways, because stuff happens on Heat that's so important that they actually do a recap of it before the show, which is a very weird thing, particularly when you know how Heat ends and you're like, oh man,
Well, this era is pre-SmackDown, so there's no SmackDown yet, and this era is also, this isn't live Raw. These Raws are taped, and they're taped at the same time as Heat.
Yes.
So you have a huge crowd for Heat. You have a hot crowd for Heat. You have the big stars like kind of already there in the building at the show. Might as well use them, So Heat in this era it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. Like it's only 45 minutes. I think actually it's funny. Heat got us into this era. Just a random.
What was it? The one you picked with the
Lions Den?
The Lions Den. Yeah.
So I mean, look, fair play to them. I mean, they managed to actually make this feel important. So my advice would be, if you guys are watching Raw on our timeline, go back and watch Heat. And we are on the Patreon. If there's an appetite for it, we'll just do a Heat show every week as well. But that is up on the Patreon. For the time being, we're just going to watch it and probably talk about it when it's important. This is kind of one of the times where it's super important, because it not only has the setup to what happens on Raw, but it's that infamous Heat where the Public Enemy get battered by the Acolytes for no reason.
This is not a squash match. This is an assault.
Like, there's a bit where they pull the chair back, and the chair breaks over the back of one of them, and then he goes over and smashes it over the the guy who's in the table in the ring, in the outside the ring. So basically, Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock. I can't tell which one is which, right? I really can't, and I don't care. But watching, so we're going to start there, right? So this match, and I call it a match. It's very, very loose terms. It's less than 2 minutes long, but it's not really, because it's ruled a double countdown, but weapon shots are encouraged. It's just a tag match, but the bell rings, tables appear, and then they get weapons and just kill them. The Acolytes kill Public Enemy. And he said it's an assault. That's not a joke. Like, I mean, there's no offense from the Public Enemy. They attack them with weapons on the outside of the ring, and then they continue a post-match beatdown. So they're already battered around the place. And I don't know what the point of this match was. Like, years later, we know it was literally a message so they'd leave WWE. But at the time, watching this as a fan, right, forgetting that we know what we know, Martin, what did you think watching this on the show?
So I watched this first a couple of years ago because I'd heard about the match, and it reminded me of, there's a big from it's the late 80s or the early 90s, but there's a big super show between WWF and one of the Japanese promotions, and whoever the top guy in the Japanese promotion was at the time, he refused to sell, or he refused to lose, or he wasn't going to sell anyway, and decided during the match that basically he wasn't losing, and he was going to really going to beat this other guy. And you can see it in the other guy's face. You can see that switch from selling to, hold on, what the hell are you actually doing?
Yeah. And
man, within about 30 seconds of this match starting, Public Enemy go from selling chair shots to, you can see in their eyes going, what in the name of God are you doing? You're actually attacking me here.
You're actually killing me here. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and Bradshaw, who is a vicious bully, like at the best of times, obviously got the go ahead to go out and do this. Farouk's laying it in, but he's not being as vicious as Bradshaw. Bradshaw's lifting like tables, like there's like a table that the ring bell and all's on, and he's throwing them down, but you can see that he's angling them so that the corner is coming down, so that the spike is coming down. Whenever he's doing the like the power slams or anything like that, you can tell the difference in the angle where he's not bringing the guy down flat in his back. He's just hoofing him as hard into the ground as he can.
No, he's actively trying to hurt him, and that's what, like, I think that's why it looks so weird, because the crowd isn't even into it. Kevin Kelly and Terry Taylor, who we'll explain why Terry Taylor's there now in a bit, but they're both just trying to make sense of this, and they're like, what's going on? So I don't even think they were told that this was just going to be an assault.
Oh, Terry Taylor definitely wasn't. He doesn't know what to do. He's completely lost. At one stage he says something like Bradshaw has lost his mind. But it's so strange, like you say, because this was not a match that had a huge amount of build. Like, no, there's loads
it just happens.
There's loads of heat between these two teams. There's nothing like that.
Like, there's a Rock promo beforehand, and it's a very by the numbers Rock promo that goes into what would set up Raw, later on. This just happens, and I mean, it's so weird because, again, I've seen it before, you've seen it before, but I didn't see it in context, and to just see the assault is brutal. And I mean, it's not like, the fun hardcore matches that, I like a good hardcore match. I think you do as well. This wasn't a match. This was just them picking up everything they could and just hitting them as hard as they can. And the chair just beating around their back was just pure. And
then leathered with the stairs, and
oh man, yeah.
Like, and again, the stairs was another one where they were vicious. Like, you could see Bradshaw was throwing them into the stairs.
Yeah.
But at that weird angle where you're going to get the edge of it, not the flat top or the flat side, Oh yeah,
it's a tough watch, and it's one of those moments in Raw, in Heat, that's infamous. but not because it's a good thing. It's because it's like, whoa, this shouldn't have been allowed. And even still watching it, you're going back and you're like, how was this allowed? You know? And again, like I think this is the end of the Public Enemy. We saw them do one funny thing, and that was one notable thing, and that was them come out dressed like the Brood.
That's right.
And that was it. This is like a week later.
Yeah, I don't think they're gone straight away, but I think they're gone shortly after this. So apparently this is all to do with WCW. When
Really?
ECW went down or was on the way out, like sure Heyman hadn't been paying people for the last number of months.
Well, they wouldn't go down for another 2 years. They'd be around for another 2 years at this point.
Yeah, well, whatever the issue was, apparently, Public Enemy had wanted to go to WCW rather than WWE.
Right.
And this had caused some issues with like the veterans in the locker room.
That makes sense. So they saw it as like disloyalty or something, or that makes sense. But then again,
a wrestler's court issue, or who knows?
But then again, there's no real excuse for the brutality that was on display here. Like it was just just distasteful. I think that's probably the best way to say it. It's because it's just like, oh, there's no entertainment here. It's just full on assault.
And nobody, and then it ends in a double count out. So nobody really gets over from this. Nobody's
you know what? Well, you know how you knew something was off? The ref never called for the bell. Like he never. Literally, guys, this match starts with a chair shot, and the ref just looks at it. There's no attempt to hide it, and the ref just lets it go. So obviously, what was happening is he probably didn't know what was going on, and as the match was going on, I use air quotes, the match goes on. He's like, "What do I do?" And they're like, "Okay, call it now," and that's probably what it was.
It's one of those things that it's worth. Like you said, it's not a great match, right? It's worth watching. It's almost like the. Do you remember the Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Hardcore Holly, absolute murder of your man from Tough Enough?
Yeah, in the Rumble. Yeah,
during the Royal Rumble.
Feels the same way. Yeah,
it's one of those things that's worth watching just because it's a notable moment, and you kind of want to have at least seen it once.
Yeah, and I think seeing it this way is better than seeing it on a random YouTube show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, or a clip show where
the context is lost. Because I think up until this point, excuse me, I would have assumed this had more of a build. No, it literally they come out and it happens, and then they go back and it's never mentioned again.
Yeah, it's the most bizarre thing.
Because you think, you're like, geez, those lads went out and they really worked hard tonight. Never mentioned again. It's not brought up once. It's like, it goes back to set up something with the a worked feud with the Undertaker trying to get the Big Boss Man, and then Farouk and Bradshaw come out and try to take the Boss Man away. It wasn't like
Public Enemy, by the way, who have nothing to do with the corporation. Nothing
exactly.
To do.
Yeah, that I was just about to say that. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. If they had been involved in the corporation, that would have at least made sense. Nope. Yeah. They were just battered for no reason. But yeah, man. I mean, look, I had to talk about that. Another thing that happens on the show is the WWF debut of Kurt Angle.
Yes. Oh, this one. So I hadn't seen this before. This one caught me by surprise now when we were watching this. So is it canon then that Kurt Angle got his wrestling career started because he was a fan in the crowd?
No, I don't think it's canon per se, but his actual in-ring debut would be at Survivor Series at the end of the year.
Yeah.
He was on ECW in 1996, I believe, when Raven crucified Sandman.
And that kind of put him off.
And that put him off for 3 years. Steve Blackman was supposed to come in around the same time, but he got injured. So I think they were supposed to come in together. So this is just a testing the waters, I think, when he was training to go into it, because he doesn't look any different really for when he debuts a couple of months later on. He looks pretty much exactly the same.
And they're bigging up his like even at during this he's supposedly just a gay in the crowd, but they're bigging up his kind of Olympic background and his amateur background.
Well, we've seen this happen even in modern WWE. There was that fella, I think it was that WrestleMania? He was like an Olympian and something, and he was involved, gave someone a suplex.
Oh yeah, but sure, they're always that. Sure, yeah, Mickey Rourke and what do you call him, the boxer from England.
Oh yeah, your man who the
Gypsy King or whatever is.
Yeah, I can't remember his actual name, but they've done this for years. And I think I was shocked that this didn't happen on a Raw, because this really feels like a modern day Raw segment. But Heat randomly,
yeah, like I say,
weird.
this
and he
is
wasn't
Heat's,
on Raw. He was just on Heat.
This is Heat's golden era. I suppose it's again, it's one of those things that's worth watching. So the segment is that Tiger Ali Singh has come out,
which is also weird because we haven't seen him at all.
It's so obvious. It's so obvious that he was just brought in for this segment.
Yeah.
They're like, oh God, we need a foreigner to do a foreign flag bit. Get me one of the foreigners.
Oh my God. And that's exactly what the thinking was, more than likely.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is the company that had Yokozuna, a Samoan guy,
pretending to be Japanese. Yeah.
So yeah, the gimmick is here that Tiger Ali Singh comes out. He's carrying an American flag and an Indian flag, and he's giving it to the crowd. You Americans, no respect, blah blah blah. And he says, "I'll prove that you have no respect for anything. I'll pick someone from the crowd, and I bet I can pay you to blow your nose with your own flag."
It is worth mentioning that they are in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is where Kurt Angle's from.
Right, yeah. So, because they were talking about him like they were aware of who he was.
Yeah. So I mean, it is worth mentioning that as well. Also, why the whole ECW thing happened was because that was in Pennsylvania as well. So I mean, it does make sense. It's still look. It's actually quite a good segment. Those eventually what happens is Kurt Angle, he gets offered $5,000. He's like, right, and he grabs the American flag, and then blows his nose on the Indian flag, and then Tiger Singh hits him with the flag, and then he does 2 or 3 belly to bellies, which actually were really good. And
it's a long way from poor old Chris Jericho having to publicly apologize to the people of Brazil for stamping on a Brazilian flag.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's different times and different countries and it's.
Yeah, but sure. Look, this is Sable still coming out carrying our episode of Play, or
we will get to that
issue of Playboy.
We will get to that.
Mandy Rose has been fired.
We'll get to that. I have thoughts on that, and luckily it's after the watershed, because holy heck. Okay, so what happens after this? We have the returning Road Dogg. Remember, he went from the highs of a world title match,
number 1 contender,
to being on Heat with Double J. Which, it was a good match. I think, Road Dogg and Double J, we don't get to see that much together. They actually are both really good wrestlers, and you get to see it in this point. But what I wanted your opinion on was, we get to really dig into the Ryan and Ken Shamrock thing more here.
Yeah, and on Raw.
And on Raw. But in this, there's a Goldust and Ken Shamrock match get the win over Billy Gunn and Val Venus. Now, this 4-way has been going back and forward for about 3 months, 2 months at this point, and it ends with Ryan Shamrock running off a Goldust again, Ken Shamrock chasing them, and then Gunn and Val Venus chasing them. He runs away after them, and then Billy Gunn and Val Venus fighting in the back until they're separated.
What is his plan for when he catches up with them?
I don't know, but so much happens on Heat that leads directly into Raw that it really can't be overstated. Like, Raw didn't really make sense to me until I watched this, 'cause so much happened. Stone Cold appears in the ring, right? So obviously, there's a Boss Man match with Al Snow. It's not really much of a match. The Acolytes come down and try to grab Big Boss Man, and he fights them off with a nightstick, right? that would pick up later on. Austin then arrives to the arena. Paul White calls out The Rock because The Rock wants answers from Paul White to be like, what's going on? Why didn't you, whose side are you on or whatever? Austin then comes out and stuns The Rock. And obviously Paul White's very, he looks like him and Austin are on the same side. And that sets up Raw. So you have all this stuff happening on on what you think is a throwaway episode of WWE. But no, everything that happens there, with the exception of Kurt Angle, who you never hear again, and the Public Enemy segment, directly sets up Raw, which sets up WrestleMania. That's how tight this 45 minutes of wrestling was. That's crazy.
And it's mad when we're going through it. Like, it's 45-minute show, and you could easily talk about it for longer than 45 minutes. But it kind of just goes to show. So this is an era when they have a 2-hour Raw and a 1-hour Heat.
Yeah.
And obviously with advertisements, they're not actually 2 hours and 1 hour. They're like 1 hour 40 and about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's only actually 4 or 5 real storylines happening in the whole in the whole of the company at this time. And it's just bizarre that one of them is Ken Shamrock will beat you up if you go out with his sister consensually.
Oh man. But I want everyone to keep that in mind. Not that specific motif, but we then go into Raw, which is in the same arena. So obviously they were shooting this together. So the question I have would be, and I probably will look into it, were they shooting these the way they would now, where they shoot a full episode, or do you think they shot segments and then just kind of put them together?
I would imagine they're shooting a full episode because, like you say, they really do run seamlessly into each other, and like they're kicking off Raw with a recap of Heat. So I would imagine these are shot in order. Like,
okay.
You go and you watch maybe a couple of dark matches, and then you watch Heat, and then you watch Raw.
Okay, fair enough. I think that makes the most sense. So we open up Raw with a recap of Heat, as you said, and The Rock comes out and cuts a promo. And to be fair, I think it's very different in the way that we've seen Raw being done so far. So this is the March 8th episode of Raw, and it's very different to the way we normally see Raw at this point, where McMahon comes out and he kind of introduced the show. No, The Rock is like, I want answers. What is going on here? This is ridiculous. I have no idea what's going on. Paul White then has a great line, and he's like, I don't know what's shorter, your manhood or your memory, but I'm brought in here to protect the company. I thought that was a really good line. And,
do you know, I also thought Vince had a great line. The Rock's going on about too many coinky dinks going on around here. The Rock doesn't like all these coinky dinks. And McMahon says something like, Rock, you sound paranoid. Soon people, if you keep up with this, people are going to stop asking, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? And they're going to start asking, do you smell what The Rock is smoking?
Yeah, that was a good line. And then this brings out Mankind, who says, hey, look, I want to be the referee. And it sets up a match later on with Austin and Mankind. Austin again will come out and say, I don't care about your rules. Just give me my match. I have my ticket. So, again, just kind of keeping the main storyline alive and building up what we'd find out later on the night. Then a match which I never heard of before. A Steel City Street Fight.
Yeah.
Which is Owen Hart and D'Lo Brown in t-shirts and jeans having a hardcore match. And we get colour though. Owen Hart bleeds like a stuck pig, which I never thought I would see randomly. But this match was interesting. So go on.
Yeah, I was really surprised by this match. It was actually decent. Maybe it's because
it was actually a match. It was like 5 minutes long.
Well, it was actually a match, yeah. And sometimes the hardcore stuff gets kind of just pawned off on the lower level guys to do. But D'Lo Brown and Owen are actually excellent pro wrestlers. So they make a decent batter out of this. There's a couple of botches right at the start. D'Lo boots Owen in the stomach, and he bends over, and he's clearly feeding him his back. He's got like a steel pan that he's going to hit him with. He's clearly feeding him his back, and I don't know if he misses him or what, but he brings it down, and it's almost like just the very edge of it, right on Owen's head, and you can see him dropping and really going for it.
There's a great sign that says "Hogan, please retire" at one point.
Well, 1999, yeah. And yeah, like the only other note I have here is holy hell, blood on Raw.
Like a lot of blood. Now, obviously he bladed, but still, you didn't really see that on Raw in a hardcore match. You know, I have to say the pile driver spot early in the match.
Oh, yeah.
That was that onto the cookie sheet. That was cool. D'Lo looked the most legit he ever looked. He looks more legit here than he does when he wears the bodysuit.
Yeah, he looked great here. They also, as well as the pile driver spot, Owen hit D'Lo with a DDT on the ramp.
Yeah,
that looked it looked like the DDT now. I think it's lost a lot of its impact because now it's obviously they're being safe, but the guys tend to flatten out when they go down. Owen hit it here like the way Jake the Snake used to hit it.
Yeah.
A real, like a proper hooked in headlock on a rail curve and a driving the body down into the ground, and it looked vicious.
The question, so the finish here, with Double J bringing out a guitar, the worst guitar ever, actually, and that's saying a lot. And then it cost them the match. Now this was a street fight. Why didn't Double J just hit him?
Yeah, just slide in. Do the
mean, he
business.
didn't need to even give him the. He didn't need to give him the thing at all, the guitar at all. He could have just done it himself. Like there was no reason for this finish to happen other than I think just bad booking.
And I actually like the finish. So like the way it finishes is Jeff Jarrett comes down. He goes to throw the guitar into the ring to Owen, but D'Lo kind of intercepts. Now it's a wee bit awkward in that D'Lo kind of half drops it and then catches it.
Yeah.
So there's like a second where Owen just kind of has to stand there waiting for the guitar shot, so it looks a wee bit awkward. But otherwise, I was like, that's like a really cool ending. But yeah, I completely agree with you. In the context of a Steel City street fight, it just made no sense. Why would you just slide in and leather him?
And that's what busted open Owen as well. It wasn't anything in the match. It was just that, which I mean, they obviously wanted to have some kind of effect. So we'll see what happens probably on Heat now, or when they refer to it again. After that, we have the return of the New Age Outlaws. Now, they make a big deal to say this is for one night only, because obviously it's the hardcore division for Billy Gunn. No, not for Road Dogg, and the IC division for Billy Gunn. And again, remember, folks, last week he was wrestling The Rock for the title.
What a title.
I want to see Al Snow versus The Rock for the title. I want to see our boss man. Come on. That has to have existed. It has to have existed.
Go through all the jobbers. There was a great segment on a Dynamite this week, actually, where Ricky Starks comes out and he's like, well, look, I've been trying to get a rematch with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho doesn't want my rematch. So I'm out here now. I have a match on the pay-per-view and I've got an open contract for anybody who wants it. And out comes Pretty Peter Avalon. He used to be the librarian, the jobber of all jobbers. And
it's like Gilbert coming out.
It's exactly like Gilbert coming out. And Jericho was so offended by this that he actually comes out and says he will have a rematch. But yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah, get The Rock going up against all the top guys.
All the top guys, all the Buckley in the back.
All the Burley. Line up the Burley.
This match is literally just the Buckley. Al Snow, Hardcore, and the Outlaws, who, they put them over as the most successful tag team in WWE history. I'm like, I don't think that's impressive as you think it is. And then the Dudley show up less than a year later, actually a couple of months later, and that line is never said again. So I feel bad for the Outlaws because I think this is like a magical time for those four guys where like we're getting world title shots for reasons, and you're just like, well, That is a weird situation.
It was mad as well that I think, no, I didn't actually time it, but I think was like the Outlaws intro and their bit in the ring and all that.
It was longer than the match.
That longer than the actual match.
It was, yeah. Yeah, it was. That was about 5 minutes and the match was 2. But it didn't matter. They were so over. It's incredible. The minute their music hits, people are screaming. So they're the most over thing on the show next to Austin. Legitimate.
Yeah, it's mad. Like which would you prefer? Would you rather kind of slug it out in the hardcore and IC divisions and hope that your break comes, or stick with the tag division where you're like the biggest team in the division? But
well, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough question.
Because it's like, yeah, the tag team division was not, like, historically has never really been given its proper due by WWE, but particularly in this period, it wasn't a major concern.
But they were so over, and you're looking in the crowd, and anything DX, again, DX is the thing that put them over. And we'll be back after this short break on the internet-only show where it's Raw After Dark, the War Zone. And again, guys, if you want to support us, you can go over to Nerd to Know Media or thewrestlingrewind.com. We'll talk to you after this short break, guys.
You have nothing else to do on a Saturday? Do you like nerd things? Now check out Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, 5 PM to 6 PM, and then head over to nerdtoknowmedia.com for all of our shows as part of the Nerd to Know Media radio network.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.
All right, folks, and we're back here on the WrestlingRewind.com, nerdtoknowmedia.com, the True Penny channel, and anywhere else where you get this podcast. We can swear now, Martin, so congratulations.
Fuck!
And we can also talk about Sable showing literal pornography on television. Literal. I mean, I was watching, I'm like, are they going to... No. Oh, there you go. It's right there. And I mean... it's literal, like, full frontal. That's just there. And Jerry the King Lawler, I have to say, when you actually give him pornography, he's less of a deviant than when he's imagining it. Did that caught you by surprise?
He's more of a deviant, right? Because he's not doing the play acting thing, the puppies. He's actually sitting there going, oh, puppies.
You thought it was more. I thought it was less.
You know, no, because it was more. It was less animated and less loud, but it was more intense. Because like,
fair.
You could tell
Mark Madden energy.
It was the Mark Madden energy. Yeah, you could tell that like Vince was in his ear going, King, you got to talk, you got to say something, and he's just sitting there like biting his lower lip, slowly peeling through the pages, and then he's. Then what is it he says?
There's going to be a lot of sticky pages.
Sable goes, oh, do you like what you see? And he goes, oh, there's going to be a lot of sticky pages in here. It's like, he's just...
No, he did crack me up though when he's like, quiet, I'm reading.
Quiet. And then
like, that's legitimately funny.
And then Sable opens it up and starts holding it open at the centerfold. Now she doesn't point it, although the camera picks it up. She doesn't point it directly at the camera.
Yeah, but the camera picks it up.
She's holding it up to the fans who are right behind the. Yeah,
I mean,
check out me wabs.
I don't know. I mean, props to her for doing that. Because I can only imagine the censors were losing their mind at the time. Because even now, it's a bit like, Jesus. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't go on telly and go, here, look. I mean, And
No,
it's
but
just
like we said, this is the company that fired Mandy Rose. You know?
yeah. But here's the thing: it wasn't like she was bringing out a laptop with her
No,
OnlyFans.
exactly. Yeah,
But they should do that. That would be a cool segment.
yeah. Well, look, they were gonna milk this for all it was worth. I'd say Sable made a nice few quid off it.
Although, I mean, she's married to Brock Lesnar. Do you think that there's a Ken Shamrock thing there where no one can ever mention Sable?
Yeah, I'd love to see them even like proposing that storyline to Brock.
Brock's like, no. No means no.
Brock's like, you can do it, but I will legitimately kill whoever.
He just calls up Ken Shamrock here. What did you do? I just followed them around until they stopped. Oh, fair enough.
Ken Shamrock tells him, I wasn't even aware of the storyline with my sister. I was just trying to get my wife back.
Didn't even tell me what the storyline was.
Yeah,
I
I just showed up for work and Goldust was groping my wife.
Some of the signs for this match, the tag team match was very good. There was if you smell what the Rock is cooking, and they drew a little pot. I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like relatively creative, and there's lots of random "marry me" signs, and I'm just thinking, imagine being that woman, and you're watching television. You're like, yep. There's four lads battering each other in the middle of the ring over a broken up belt, and that's when you decide to do it. Well done. Oh my god. I love the Attitude Era. It's the best.
It's just if you switch off and are just primed for nonsense, it is the absolute best. Like this show even has like the Stooges are running around all through this, the different segments the whole way through the show.
So yeah, you took the words out of my mouth there again. I was going to say during this match, you start seeing the Undertaker symbol like really far up above the Titantron, and it kind of ruins what's going to happen later on because you're like, what is that? But it's the first time I noticed it when it was during this match, because obviously I'm based on our book, which I might put as a Patreon goal actually. It's like I'm looking at the signs, and all I can do is focus on every time the hard camera goes to it. Just like
that's strange. See, I didn't actually notice it.
Did you not notice it?
No. But again, I suppose I wasn't looking for it. But yeah, this was around. Bossman wasn't the first person that did this, though, was it?
Bossman, no, because they did it to Midian as well, and they do it to Stephanie, and they do it to Austin, but the Undertaker symbol was there, so you kind of knew this was coming. The ending of this was weird though, because it was like a quick victory, and then it goes black, and obviously that's the Ministry. So the Ministry are just coming out to batter everyone in the ring, basically. Undertaker walks out, and he's very slow, but this really is the Acolytes, Midian and Viscera, and the Brood who are doing everything. And again, when you see Viscera drop on Al Snow, I'm thinking again what Taker said, going, I only wanted them in the Ministry so I wouldn't have to take that move. It's like, he was the smartest guy in the whole company.
He knew, he really was, wasn't he? And
he really was, yeah.
He's like a main character in this episode, and he does not throw a single punch.
No, he
walks out. His Ministry does all the beatdowns. He takes the microphone and mumbles some Bray Wyatt level bullshit.
It's absolute nonsense. It's like it's not as bad as Bray Wyatt.
Is that okay? Yeah,
Taker can properly go and back it up, but it is total bollocks. He is talking. Didn't mean anything. But everyone loved it. And then we have one of the most awful segments. I don't know where you want to go with this, but
I just don't understand what they're trying to achieve. So this is the JR segment.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
JR is seen talking to Dr. Death.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure you get the respect you deserve. The next thing, JR is down in the ring. He calls Michael Cole into the ring.
Yeah.
Berates him about sports entertainment when it should be wrestling.
But hold on, I want to stop you there real quick. Before that happens, they make a very clear point to bring up the very serious and very real bout of Bell's palsy that you had at this point. But then they bring up the brawl for all. No, not the
Yeah.
brawl for all. Yeah, they bring it to brawl for all, and it's just like, oh no, and you can tell Michael Cole's like, oh no, don't, and King's doing it anyway because he has to, and you're like, oh god, and the whole thing starts off bad, and it gets progressively worse. So he's berating him, and then he takes out the shop, like what's in the bag. It's like, oh, I think they call it a
What's in
gi.
the bag?
So it's like a karate gi or something. They he throws it out in the mask, and they're like, "Oh, this is what they wanted Doctor Death to wear." Then
Yeah, it's real work shoot kind of thing.
and then he starts saying some really good lines to Cole. So you're a pretty boy, and look at you with your mousse in your hair, and he kicks him in the balls, and it's hilarious.
Oh, he goes. JR goes absolutely off. So
properly at him, yeah.
Yeah, he lets him have it. He boots him in the balls. Then he goes
Like
down.
wellies him like. Yeah.
Then he goes down and he says, "This is my goddamn job and I'm doing it." He goes down and he sits at the announcer's desk.
Yep.
He starts talking to King. Then it cuts to McMahon and the Stooges backstage, and McMahon's going, "Get JR out of here. Send
Yeah.
Terry Taylor down." So to send poor old Terry Taylor down to go and tell JR he has to go. And JR lays into him.
They're saying you were on the best line. The best line was he goes, "Oh, what are you gonna do? You gonna cluck at me? You're a mid-card wrestler and you always wear." It's just like, holy hell.
Come on, Terry Taylor. They're going to replace me with the red goddamn
Red Rooster.
With the red rooster coming down here. What, are you going to be cocky? What, are you going to cluck at me? You're a goddamn, what does he said? You're a goddamn mid-card wrestler with a lousy record.
Oh, it's brilliant. And then Dr. Death comes out and he's like, right, come on back.
And then, yeah, so then it's like I could have understood this if JR had a fucked Terry Taylor out of it and sat down and did the show, and Dr. Death stood by him like the whole show to protect him. So JR does that would have made sense to me. But then what happens is Dr. Death comes down and just leads JR away like he's his grandfather who escaped who wandered out of the home.
That's like, what it feels like. That's honestly what it feels like. It's like, someone's racist grandpa going, come on now, I know, come on now, it's fine.
You can't talk to the nurses like that, Daddy.
Yeah, you can't be saying that kind of. Yeah, that's what it felt like, and I was like, what did they achieve here? Because the crowd were like super into seeing JR do all of that, and he got a massive cheer. And no,
that's exactly the point. Like, if you're gonna have him do the old school wrestling, and I won't be told what to do, and I don't give a goddamn if I have Bell's palsy, I'm gonna call the show. Like, yeah, but let him do that.
And they didn't.
They build that up and then lead him away. Like,
it was such a weird segment. But then, so okay, here's the schizophrenic nature of this, and I hate to use that term, but I have to. Of this show, it's you do that, and then it cuts right to like the Stooges, dressed up as druids, running around the back. The same thing would happen later on with Triple H, but then we go back to having the saga of Ken Shamrock and Ken Shamrock's sister. So Shamrock versus
they are, so before this match actually starts, they are well into Ray and Shamrock. Like so there's just before the match starts, a wee short backstage segment where she's sitting on Goldust's lap and they're like gyrating, and the camera is right up her skirt.
Yeah.
And then it kind of pans around. They're going at each other on the couch, and then the camera pans back, and it turns out the blue meanie is sat on the other side of the couch just sobbing. It's very odd. But
did you catch the sign in the crowd?
No, what was it?
Shamrock, ellipses. Can I have Ryan too? Exclamation point. I think grammar was really lost on that guy, but there you go. Also, there's a sign that says "Madness Fat."
But
oh my God,
it's such a bizarre storyline, isn't it? Like, it's.
Hold on. Hey Ken, can I have your sister's phone? Hashtag, which means phone number.
Phone, yeah. Oh, back in the day when hashtag meant number.
Yeah. So yeah,
And
these are some of the
for-
signs that the crowd are picking out, folks, when he's coming out to the ring. So this is his storyline. This is literally the second biggest storyline in the company is Ryan Shamrock.
Yeah, they're really into her.
Yeah.
Just for our American listeners and for younger listeners. So yeah, before hashtag meant hashtag, it meant number.
Yes.
But in Irish language circles, hashtag also is a shorthand way of saying my love or my darling, because you call it the hash key, and mo hash key is Irish for my treasure.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, so if you're texting someone Oscoelga, you would end it with the mo and then the hashtag,
There you
because
go,
mo
folks.
hash key.
Educational and informative. And that's what we aim to achieve here.
It's not just wrestling.
It's not just wrestling.
Sometimes you'll sign into the show here, and the first half hour will just be us waffling about the new Batman film.
That's true. That happened last week. So this match was 90 seconds long.
Oh
and it was a train wreck. And then Goldust just runs away. And Ken runs after him. Remember, folks, this is a consensual relationship between two adults and poor Blue Meanie.
Here's the one thing. This is a mostly consensual relationship because Goldust has Ken Shamrock set up for the Shattered Dreams to finish him off. And then he turns around, he gets distracted by the Blue Meanie grabbing Ray and Shamrock and then just lobbing the tongue down her throat.
But that wasn't consensual.
No, but what is going on?
We don't know.
What is the story?
We don't know.
And then she runs away
with Goldust.
Arm in arm with Goldust. And then Ken Shamrock takes off. So Ken Shamrock takes off after his sister and her consensual boyfriend and has absolutely nothing to say about the Blue Meanie at the side of the ring.
Who you think he'd be more upset with? Yeah, you think he'd be more upset with. But no, he's going after the consensual one, not the one who should be upset with. X-Pac comes out with, actually, there's a great, one of those great little Main Street Posse segments.
Oh, yeah. They're very good.
Out comes X-Pac and Shane. Sorry, there's a great sign at this point saying Shane's a bitch.
Do you know what, though? Shane, at this stage, is a bitch.
Yeah, that's true.
He's bloody great at being a bitch. I really enjoyed him during this because he's so good at playing like an obnoxious heel, whereas
so there's another
nowadays he just has kind of
he has X-Pac key. Yeah, ironically, he has X-Pac key. There's another great sign that gets overshadowed here. China is my father. Right beside China fears me. So
there you go. Look, China's over. Like
China's super over. She is so incredibly over that she gets the gambit of signs between. I think they're the female version of the homophobic signs that we see every week. It's just the Attitude Era has like a consistent theme. So Test comes out to face Triple H and X-Pac. It's not really established who's facing who, and then we're told by commentary it's going to be Test versus X-Pac. The match itself is about 4 minutes. It's not a great match, but it has some good moments. Test is really good. Shane is incredibly annoying on commentary at this point.
But deliberate, like he's meant to be.
Yeah, he's very, very annoying on commentary. But
I'll tell you what, I actually didn't think this was too bad. Look, most of the matches on the show so far haven't actually been matches. They've been angles. Whatever. Good. I didn't think this was too bad of a match. I thought there's a bit right at the very start where Test, like the lock up, Test and X-Pac lock up, and Test just grabs him, gets his arms under his oxters, and just fires him out over the top rope.
Yeah.
And it looked insane. It looked class. So So I thought, yeah, look, 4 minutes and it ends in just another typical run-in DQ schmoz nonsense. But while the two of them were going at it, I thought this was all right.
Yeah, and then the angle leads to a belt shot from Shane, and then so that sets up the win for Test. Then China absolutely wellies Triple H over, and he grabs the mic and he's like, "I'm sick of this, writing this crap," and then he's like, "I'm gonna go find China," and then he does, and he goes out and finds her backstage. So what's weird about this is the Druids, who aren't the Druids, they're the Briscoe, they're not the Briscoes, they're the Stooges, Patterson and Briscoe. They run in, they think it's Bossman or the Undertaker's locker room. It turns out it's the Godfather with the hose, and he batters them. And it's Triple H going, China, China, and you're like, oh, that's a weird, and he's laughing. So it's like, are you angry at her or you're not? Godfather comes out with the hose, who aren't famous hose, they're just regular hose. It's a great sign that says "Bring on the hose," which is hilarious. And Blackman comes out. So Steve Blackman, the
lethal weapon,
and they make a big thing out of it. Now, again, I have never seen. So they go back to last week. We talked about the kendo stick match, which they make it seem like it was a big thing in this. It really wasn't. Yeah, it was like literally 90 seconds. But I've never seen this before.
And that's 90 seconds, but no intros, no music, no
it was
nothing.
Just dropped in the middle of a hardcore match that wasn't a hardcore match.
It was a segment within a segment between two matches. It was bizarre.
So I've never seen this before, where someone actually takes the hose,
and it's Steve Blackman of all.
People. So he's like, "I'll take both of them." He's like, "All right, fair enough." So
the Godfather says, "We can have this match, or you can pick one of my ladies and she'll be yours all night, because it's the 90s and women are things." And Steve Blackman goes, do you know what? I'll have both of them. And yeah, so we've had these matches that are going like a minute, 2 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And this one doesn't go anything.
It's a no contest. So he's getting ready to leave. And he is leaving, and then Droz comes out for some reason, attacks Steve Blackman, which is ridiculous. The Godfather then starts laying into him, so does Steve Blackman. And then the lights cut out. This is really stupid. And then the Ministry come out and batter all of them. The great line of commentary where they're saying, oh, this is a really bad night for Droz. It's a really bad decision.
Well, I tell you what, it's a really bad night for Steve Blackman. So Steve Blackman came to work that day. Maybe he's tired, maybe he's hungover, maybe he's like, I came into this company thinking I was going to be a top star, and I'm stuck in this stupid kendo stick mid-card gimmick. And he gets into the ring, and the Godfather says, do you know, I don't feel like fighting either. Would you rather have sex with some prostitutes? And Steve Blackman says,
yes.
Fuck it.
Why not?
Do you know what? I actually would.
Would.
He's just about to go off and take the Godfather up on his offer when he gets attacked by Droz, and then he gets attacked by the Ministry. So Steve Blackman, who decided he was going to take the night off and have no fights, ends up in 3 bloody fights.
Oh, and not a match between them.
Not a match, nothing goes on the card, nothing goes on the record. And I imagine after getting bait down like that, the Godfather then rescinded his offer.
Yes,
for his hose.
So the Undertaker comes out, says more nonsense into the mic, and then it cuts to Chyna in the ring for some reason. They don't explain why she's in the ring, she just is. Triple H then comes out, and then Kane shows up. And so this is,
I'd actually forgotten about this.
So this is where I start being like, what the hell is going on? So Kane shows up with a gun.
Well, here's the thing. Are you meant to be able to see that?
I don't know.
Is it meant to look like he's firing the flames out of his hands?
So this is one of the questions I have, right? So Chyna is been held by Triple H, right? She reverses it, right? and manages to hold Triple H right after he attacks Kane. Kane then literally points a gun. I think they are supposed to be it's from his hands. Actually, you're right. That's a good call. But it's a gun, and he fires it at Chyna's face. Now, for no reason, he fires it at Chyna's face. Triple H then has concern. Kane has concern. Kane pushes him out of the way, and then carries Chyna away. I don't know what this segment was, or what it was meant to be.
I could see what they were going for here, but it was so poorly executed. So I think what they were going for here was Kane comes out to protect Chyna. Chyna grabs Triple H. Kane goes to use his spooky powers to, shoot Triple H in the head or create a fireball around Triple H, and he moves. And then Triple H shows concern for Chyna, but Kane is both protective and possessive, so he throws him out, and then he carries Chyna off. That's, so he's the monster who has a soft spot for Chyna. So that's what I think they intended to happen. What actually happened is, as you say, Kane walks down to the ring carrying a gun. Chyna grabs Triple H from behind, grabs the two arms. And we had a discussion last week. We were like, has it ever worked where someone has grabbed the other person, their two arms from behind, to help another wrestler set up a big kick or punch or whatever? Has that ever worked? Or like 100% of the time have they moved out of the way? So I was sitting thinking about that going, oh God, I bet you, I wonder, will this be the one time it works? Or is Chyna about to get a boot in the face? And then Kane just shoots her.
And it would, like, looking back again, you can see what they were going for was obviously the spooky powers. But the way he even he just shot her. He just shot her in the face for no reason.
And she's only 8 feet away. Like,
he's the monster. He doesn't need to use a gun or fire. Just choke slam him. Like, anyway. So this goes into the next segment, and it's the Sable segment. We talked about it, but the little video package, oh my God, it's the worst with the wrestling fans. Oh no, they're just the worst. Just the worst. It's peak 90s, peak 90s. Your man takes out a wrestling ring and everything. It's just like, what are you doing? No. Poor Sable. Hopefully she got enough money out of it, but this then leads into a nothing match with Tori and Luna. It's 39 seconds. Tori wins via DQ. And then we go straight to the main event. The Rock comes out and he's doing color commentary. Paul White is a special guest referee. Mankind defeats Steve Austin by countout, thus becoming officially one of the main referees at WrestleMania.
So here's the thing that got me about this. Firstly, Mankind versus Austin, I was absolutely licking my lips going, yeah, like let's get this. Wasn't a great match.
No.
But by no means a disaster, but these are two guys who have put on, both together and separately, some of the best matches in history. So it wasn't great.
The intensity and the crowd sells it.
Yeah. Oh, look, like they're two top guys at this time in wrestling where, you can coast along on that. But look, there was only, by the time the bell actually rang, there was only really 8 minutes left in the show. Like, it was never going to be a classic.
Also, Terry Taylor is the atrocious commentator.
He's so
Can I
bad.
just say that now? He is real bad. This is real bad.
Goddamn Red Rooster was a mid-card jobber with a lousy record, and he's not even a good commentator.
Oh, JR, man. The most cutting line ever. I mean, that could have been true of Jerry the King as well, but like, it just totally buries him. And I mean, it's totally true. Like, you're watching this and you're just like, you start longing for Michael Cole to come back. And it's bad when you want that.
But here's what got me with this match, right? So So this match was, if Mankind wins, he becomes the special guest referee, right?
Yeah.
If he doesn't win, then the special guest referee is going to be Paul White, the Big Show.
Solo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Solo. Yeah.
Right. So if you're in the corporation, surely it is in your interests for Austin to win so that Paul White will be the referee.
That's a fair point.
And not Mankind, who is either going to be pro Austin or is going to be impartial, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So why then does Paul White do a really fast count out on Austin? It confused me. It didn't
a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work for what their goal was. And also, this is just, again, it's the Attitude Era, so who really cares about the rules? But do you really count them out when they're stood on the apron? Like they're still on the ring. You know, I've never seen anyone counted out on the apron before. You know,
we did quickly jump over the fact that the boss man did get crucified at one point, and then he managed to escape. And then Undertaker somehow set the sign on fire and got arrested.
Undertaker sets the sign on fire and then puts his arms out for a load of cops to arrest him, and then McMahon is out shouting into the cop car window, "Don't you threaten me, Undertaker! I'll," bizarre.
So
bizarre
that
thing.
did actually have a payoff, folks. It didn't just be forgotten about like the.
Here's the thing with this era of the Undertaker. When you watch it actually happening, it's not great.
No, when you watch it in video packages, it's amazing.
In video packages, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like when you can skip all the darkness is coming and Edge and Christian and Midian are going to beat you down and the darkness will. When you skip all that and you just have like a cool soundtrack and McMahon falling to his knees while the teddy burns, and then Stephanie being crucified, and then the big Undertaker sign going up in flames, like that all looks awesome in a video package. But to watch it, it's a wee bit of a chore.
Also, did you find it ironic, because this has just hit me, so I found it ironic just now, that Kurt Angle was obviously in the crowd or backstage when this was being shot, when the crucifixion was happening. Yet the whole reason why he didn't join ECW was because of crucifixion.
Maybe is that why they had
Makes you
Boss
think.
Man sort of be able to cut himself down?
Potentially. I mean, I didn't realize the Boss Man had that much will to be able to fight so convincingly the entire ministry and then run away, but he did. So fair play to him. Good man, Boss Man. Good man.
I'm not even actually sure if he was meant to come down from it, because
I think he had to, because he then set it on fire. I don't think they were going to kill him.
Yeah, they set it on fire. But at one stage, he like moves his arm and you can see the rope break, and then he quickly puts his arm back up and grabs. So maybe he just did it too early. Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe. But look, a mixed bag. I definitely think, we are going to watch Heat going forward. It is going to be part of our preparation. So if you guys want us to cover Heat when it's just, as its own thing, we will. Let us know on Patreon. This was a pretty good show for Raw. The Elimination Chamber was good as well. Would recommend watching that. Martin, anything you want to say before we finish up?
No, it's we're getting, like I say, to the biggest show of the year. Revolution
WrestleMania
match.
15.
And WrestleMania 15, yeah. But Revolution March 6th next week. I am very excited for that. Build hasn't been great. Maybe not last week or the week before, but this week's episode of Dynamite was phenomenal. They really kicked back into gear. They're like the last couple of weeks leading up to a pay-per-view, and AEW is usually like absolute fire. So looking forward to that. Oh, and I got Metroid Prime remastered. It's amazing. It's everything I wished it would be.
Brilliant. Well, there you go, folks. We'll probably spend a lot of time next week talking about that before we get into it, because that's what we're prefaced to do. Where is it? I think there's like 3 shows left before WrestleMania 15. So obviously we're gonna talk about AEW after the fact. Next week we'll probably continue on our timeline, talk about AEW, and then go into the 2 shows before WrestleMania 15, which actually will probably get us to actual WrestleMania as well. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania 15, I have to say. I know it's bad, but after watching all the hype to it, I'm pretty excited. So again, folks, I will say you can find us everything, thewrestlingrewind.com. Everything you want to know is there. You can follow me on Twitter at DaraWV. Please do check out the 8 shows. There's like 12 hours of wrestling content, or people talking about wrestling content that you can just listen to now, and it's all really, really good. So I encourage you to go over and do that, and we will talk to you next week here on the Wrestling Rewind. Bye, guys.
Keep our lad.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.